I am Brandon Sewell, the owner of Seal Pro Painting and now Seal Pro Seal and Wash in Central Florida. I am also the host of the Off the Ladder podcast. We exist to help home service business owners learn so that they can lead well and ultimately get off the ladder. Today's guest on the show is Isaac. He is the owner and founder of White Oak Painting. White Oak Painting is a luxury residential painting company that aspires to create over the top customer experiences while providing a service drenched in excellence. Isaac manages a small team consisting of a crew lead, experienced, and entry level painters. Isaac believes deeply in the value of good communication, boasting a 5-star rating. Isaac and White Oak Painting have begun to raise the bar for painting contractors in Southeast Iowa. Isaac holds an electric skill set as a documentary filmmaker whose films have been in festivals and an accomplished musician. Isaac has taken his gifts for creativity, brand design, and entrepreneurship and poured himself into his brand. Isaac's biggest motivation for building his own business is to be able to spend more time with his garden, wife, and 2 school age children. He credits his success to the goodness of God and hopes that through himself and his company, God will be glorified. Good stuff, man. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, man. It's an honor
All
to
right,
be
so
here.
I have to ask, is was garden like a typo or is that legit?
Oh no, it's full on. Just wait until spring. I'll post a video.
Oh, nice. I was like, I wonder if he like legit has a passion for gardening or if that was like a typo of some sort
Yeah, no, 2020, I kind of got super nerdy. Went all
into
out.
gardening.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Well, for the listeners, I was actually introduced to Isaac through a coaching program that we were both part of with Steve Burnett and TYB Coach. Um, Great coaching program. It definitely helped me. Isaac came into it, and we got connected and just really had some. I guess synergy between the two of us, and we've stayed connected, and it's been really awesome to see just your growth even from coming into Steve's program and then just seeing you now where you reached out to me recently and you're like, dude, I'm off the ladder. I was just like super stoked for you and celebrating
Thanks.
um and I appreciate you even just sharing that I might have played a small role in that. That was definitely encouraging to me. So I want, because our mission is to like help guys get to that place where they're off the ladder. I wanted to have you on here so we can really jump into the depth of your story and maybe encourage those listeners who are like trying to do that, trying to
hmm
accomplish what you've accomplished, but they're experiencing, the roadblocks. And so we're gonna really try to um, dive into your story and encourage them. So,
For sure.
why don't you share really quick with the listeners how you got started in the painting industry and had your own business and what that kind of looked like in the beginning?
Yeah. So just to kind of jump way back, even from the time I was a little kid, probably like 8, 9 years old, I just always had a deep longing to see great customer service. I don't know why it was in me even then, but I just have distinct memories of baking cookies and brownies and um, tying them up really nice in their own individual packaging and going around my neighborhood and selling them door to door and just having just a really professional approach to that. And
Mhm.
just fast forward, I feel like everything that I've done in my life, I've just really cared about doing it really well. To a fault, I tell people I'm a recovering perfectionist in pursuit of excellence.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so went to college and didn't have any idea that I'd be a painter. Definitely thought I was going to end up in more of the professional field in like medical. So I actually went to school for dentistry originally, thinking I was going to be an orthodontist.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of years in, just realized, like, you know what? This organic chemistry thing's a little harder than I expected. Got my first C ever, and just decided to take a semester off and kind of figure out, like, okay, what am I wanting to do? Actually spent a couple of years behind the meat counter at a local butcher, and um, thought about pursuing that. And then a mentor at my church who was a painting contractor kind of took me under his wing, and he needed some extra help here and there on some projects, and kind of taught me the beginnings of how to paint properly. Learned to roll walls and cut in and spray a little bit. But I just kind of did that on the side. And actually, another guy from my same church had a painting contractor business as well. He needed some extra help. And so I helped him one day, and I'm like, man, these guys are awesome. The culture is great. They have a blast, and I feel like I'm pretty good at this. I'm kind of getting burnt out on cutting steaks. So I'm going to give this thing a try. And he was
Mm-hmm.
at the point where he could bring on a guy. And so I quit my job at Fairway and went on to work with, at the time, Precision Drywall and Painting, now Precision Coatings with Josh Horn. And just learn the trade, learn the ins and outs, and really, I feel like gained a lot of care for just detailed excellence with the craft. Learned drywall finishing and epoxy coatings and all sorts of stuff. It was a
Mm-hmm.
huge learning curve that was really, really awesome. Huge benefit to my life. And still was just kind of like, man, where do I go from here? Is this what I want to do forever? And I've always had a love for photo and video. And so I actually, on the side while working for him, started a little filmmaking company, just named it after my last name, Mumma Films, and started doing small videos for companies and weddings. I was actually going out like every other weekend, all over filming weddings and shooting these little like documentary stories for couples. And started getting into documentary filmmaking, and I thought, man, maybe I can make a career of this. Um, and long story short, so I was working with Precision, and my plan was to kind of transition out. I gave him about, I think, like maybe 4 or 6 months notice, and I was going to start my filmmaking journey and just kind of go all out. And I had done some side jobs with painting in the meantime, and I kind of made it a goal that I was going to do an entire exterior repaint with not using any of his supplies, because he was gracious enough to let me use some of his supplies on side jobs. And I thought, I'm going to do this on my own and see if I'd be capable of this. And bought a sprayer, bought everything else I'd need, and a car. And yeah, it went really well. And I had a good amount of side jobs lined up. And the way that ended up happening was I left and then started doing videos, but I also had these painting jobs. And so I was about 50-50 painting side jobs and video work. And then the painting just kind of took off. Um, and I didn't really want it to. I I really enjoyed doing the videos, but the painting, with the amount of work that I had to put into the videos for the return, just because people weren't at that point willing to pay what video was worth, I was just
Sure.
like, man, I could make the same amount of money paying or painting a house with a lot less headache and
Mm-hmm.
a lot more gratitude from the painting customer.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I just started leaning into that, and I really didn't see myself as starting an actual painting company. I just kind of saw myself as a painter who was like lucky enough to work for himself. And
Right.
then eventually some stuff happened, and did have some mind shifts, and things look a lot different right now. But yeah, so that's kind of what got me into the painting trade. Like I said, I didn't uh, necessarily plan to get here, but super grateful that I have.
Yeah. It's funny. I didn't like necessarily think I was gonna have own a painting company ever. Um, but I heard somebody say before that the painting industry, you don't choose it, it chooses you.
Yeah, yeah,
And so I found that to be true in a lot of ways. Like, talking to other people. Um, but yeah, it's funny. I had no anticipation of, having a painting company either, but that's just the way it worked out. It's what made sense, like, as I just moved along. So um going back to like your progression into starting your own company, how many years ago was that when you first got
yeah,
started?
yeah. It was September of 2018. I kind of officially set out on my own.
Okay. So like,
So
yeah,
about
like
five and a half
transition.
years ago.
Okay, so you went from like doing the side jobs to
Yeah.
having
So
your own thing.
yeah. So I talked to my father-in-law and thought about maybe starting up like a kind of coming in under him. He was starting a handyman business,
Hmm.
and um, he's like, "Man, you got all these side jobs lined up. You can do this thing." And at that time, my wife was working teaching preschool, and so she was able to pay for a decent amount of our bills with what she was making, which kind of gave me the thought of, okay, like even if I fall flat on my face, at least we can pay our mortgage. So just kind of
Yeah,
went for
that's good.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. One of the things that I talk about a lot is how important it is for like having a really great marriage, because you can't do what you're gonna do without like that spouse's support,
Yeah.
right? So that's huge. Even my wife, like, there's been times where we wouldn't have survived if it weren't for like her income and just her supporting me and things like that. So like a solid marriage, having another, like, not depending fully on myself to like go out and pursue this entrepreneurial you know dream.
Yeah.
um and then like having some personal finances laid out, being in a decent position to take on the risk. So, like, I tell guys, I'm like, get those things in order first, because you can't really dive in the way that you may want to if some of that's not,
Yeah.
dialed in and set up those foundations. So, um, you know, I, I think that, you have to take all of those things into consideration. You don't want to like, jump out there and have, no idea how to get the work, how to produce the work, and how to like make things happen. Um, and then just like fall flat on your face and have both the business and your personal life fall apart. So,
Yeah. 100%.
so in those early days, what were you doing to get work? I would assume a lot of like word of mouth and just referrals. Were you doing any advertising or marketing, or what was that like for you
Yeah.
those first few years?
Yeah. Great question. So at that point, I was fully convinced that I did not want to join the world of phone addiction and
Hmm.
social media brainwashing, I called it. And so I had a smartphone for a long time, but at that time was around when I had an old school flip phone
Hmm.
and no social media. And yeah, every call that I got, I'd save into my flip phone the person's name and then lead to like be able to search their contact in my phone.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I got one job. So I had, like I said, I had some side jobs, and some people had shared a little bit about their experience with me to their friends and family. And
Hmm.
I believed really strongly in a good brand, even from day one, but I didn't have too much experience with it. So I was just kind of consuming everything that I could on it and was trying to develop, okay, what would be a good name? I was talking to my wife about it, and I knew from the beginning that I didn't want to have anything in the name that just associated me with like my local area,
Hmm.
or with my name. And I wanted to have it be something that I could eventually kind of step back from and not be the main spotlight figurehead where it was kind of built around my personality. And so we just love the look of white oak floors and just really everything white oak is just that kind of lighter
Hmm.
feel. And I knew that I wanted to have white in the name just because of the clean, um, kind of caters itself towards more of that high end market that really cares about a quality job.
Hmm.
And there was this local company called Whitetail Properties, referencing like rural land with deer. And just the look of it with the serif fonts, and I was just like, I would love to have white in my business name. And so I was just like, I think actually my wife thought, well, what about white oak painting? Hey, yeah, that would work. So I was just kind of
Hmm.
fiddling around, wanted to get something started, and had this little kind of clip art leaf looking thing that I ended up making originally. And it worked for a number of years. And I've since like changed it and going in a cool direction, I feel like. But as far as like jumping back to your question of how I was getting jobs, um, I was super blessed right away with this really awesome customer who she just had this really nice house and trusted me and my professionalism and detail that she was telling me I had. And I just feel like did my absolute best and did a great job, and then was blessed to have her just share my name a bunch. And
Yeah.
I just kept serving people. And I think that that is kind of the distinction. Um, from early on, I heard this quote from Warren Buffett, and he was asked, what would be your best bit of small business advice? And he said, if you can learn to absolutely delight your customers, then they can't help but tell their friends about you. And I just really care about people. I really care about um, showing them the value that I feel like they deserve to be shown. And just that sense of customer service. Like I said, I just have a huge love for good customer service, and also in that, a huge disdain for poor customer service. Uh, no matter if it's going into a restaurant and there's no host or hostess there, but there's also no sign that says, please wait to be seated. And then the people in the restaurant are staring at you. It just communicates this feeling of, okay, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what's expected of me. What do I do
Hmm.
here? And just the communication there is like, come on. Or when you walk into a shop and you should be greeted, but instead you're just standing there, and then yeah, or when a home service company comes to your house and just walks in without even introducing themselves and just very brash. And the worst, if you call somebody and they don't answer the phone and then you leave a voicemail and they never call you back.
Hmm.
Just poor customer service just irks me because I believe people deserve to be treated really well, especially in the home service industry. I mean,
Yeah.
um, houses are often people's biggest investment or asset, and it's their safe place. I mean, it's where their kids learn to walk for the first time. It's where they have that last memory with grandpa around the Thanksgiving table. It's just these are their sacred spaces. And when people invite home service companies to come into their home, it's vulnerable and it's risky. Um,
Yeah.
and so because they're taking that risk on us to say, hey, come and do some work for me at my home, um, they're opening themselves up for possibly having them be poorly treated or their home be poorly treated. So I feel like it's our duty as home service business owners to just, like Warren Buffett says, delight them with the service that we provide. Let them just know beyond a shadow of a doubt, I can trust these people. They have my best interests in mind. They care about me. So that was important to me from day one. And I think that when people feel treated well, when they see that you do a great job and you have high attention to detail, you're clean, and you don't have paint all over you, and you like have a decent vehicle that they're not embarrassed to have out front of their house. I feel like all those things just kind of play into their whole experience of having you work for them. And when people have a great experience with you, they want to do business with you again. They want to tell their friends about you. And that's something that I really focused on from day one. It's like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it well. Uh, I'm not just going to bounce job to job, trying to make money, racing through to get that paycheck to pay my bills. I'm going to price it for what I know I'm worth, because I know that not everybody's producing the experience that I can provide. Um, and so I'm going to price it to where it's fair for the customer for sure. And it also makes it so that I don't have to run around trying to get it done as fast as possible to make a profit. I can use excellent Sherwin-Williams products. I can have the time to be able to create crisp and clean lines and line the entryway with new drop cloths and take the time to really do a great job. That stuff stands out. And so um, people started telling their friends about what we were doing, what I was doing. I was Mr. Solopreneur for sure, doing absolutely
Mm,
everything.
right.
And I think that it was just common knowledge at that point that if people searched for a business, they just search on Google. And it was surprising to me how many people told me, we've been trying to find a painter for years. We just don't know who's out there. And you go on Google and it's like, yeah, there's a reason why. Like, there's nobody on there. If anybody's on there, they have 2 reviews. So I just leaned into Google. I got the Google My Business profile, started reaching out to all my clients and asking for a review. And I think we're up to 54 right now, but it's tough because only about half of people have a Gmail address, and the other half don't feel comfortable either making a Gmail address or putting their stuff up on Google. They're like, we'll definitely tell our neighbors, so that's sweet too. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I think that when you provide a great service, that I love that Steve refers to as remarkable service that's able to be remarked about. People want to do business with you again, and they just kind of can't help but share about their experience. So all that combined, it turned into word of mouth, Google, and then unfortunately, well, no, fortunately, it was growing pains. Steve convinced me to get a Facebook. I was like, okay, I guess it's the necessary evil. And
Right.
so yeah, people have found out about us on there. Kind of just got on there recently. Very few number of followers on there, which is fine. But yeah, just starting to create a little bit more of a presence there, which is new for me. I'm not really here. I'm gonna share what I'm doing. I'm gonna get behind a camera. I'm usually the one filming, and now I'm like putting the camera on me.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, to get out of your comfort zone and do that's great. I love like a lot of what you've shared because I think that no matter what size business you are or whether you're on the ladder still or off the ladder, having like that core understanding of how important customer service is so important.
Yeah,
Um, in the success of your company long term. And, so I think some guys, gals either have that or they don't. And I think for a lot of people that can be a limiting factor in their ability to grow, and even to have greater opportunities, because it's like the things that you think don't matter, they do. Like you mentioned, like the vehicle that you show up in, how do you show up to an estimate? Like I've talked to some of like even my buddies before, and I live in like a beach town, so it's like, oh yeah, just show up like in flip flops and board shorts and like whatever. Just no, like I show up, collared shirt, you know, groomed, like ready to provide professionalism,
Yeah.
at in every way. And so I think that's it's really important to understand that, and it's key in just growing and creating a great company and brand. So you were doing Google, you're doing those things, you're doing the word of mouth referrals. That's really like putting some pressure on you. I'd assume you had a lot of demand for your services. Maybe even like booking out pretty far and like, man, I've got to find help. So what at what point did you find yourself saying like, okay, I've got to find help, and I need to get off the ladder, like that's my next step? And once you took that, what are some of the things that you had to address in your business to get to that point? And yeah, let's talk about like what caused you to reach out to get help to get off the ladder. And then let's kind of jump into like maybe some key areas. Like, what did you have to change about like your marketing and your sales? What did you have to change about production? And then maybe lastly, like jumping into some of the mindset shift. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Um, is it okay if I jump back just a little bit further?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, did the solopreneur thing for about 5 years, and never really had the thought, and I knew it was a limiting belief, but I never really had the thought that I could actually be an entrepreneur, that I could actually like grow and own a company. And I don't know if it was just that I didn't think I had what it takes to lead people. I've always been a leader, but for some reason, I think that the people around me constantly saying, "Oh, it's just a headache to have employees, and it's not worth it. I can just do it all myself." I think I kind of I got that too, um, and so I'm not gonna lie, it was really good, and I served my customers really well, but it was extremely difficult. My wife was teaching at the preschool for that first year, but then afterwards, um, decided to come back home and homeschool the kids. So then at that point, even early on, still it was all on me, and so I had this like understanding that okay, I've got to make this work. I came across this book called Profit First that
Yeah, I love that book.
basically helped me to understand that no matter how much I make, even if it's just a $200 door repaint, I've got to pay myself first. And so splitting up those checks into different percentages into different accounts, I feel like really helped me get on a good track. Um,
Hmm.
and then so when larger jobs would come around, I'd still just stay on that system. And so I was doing well in that regard. And I think that that enabled us to be able to um, go through the difficult times. There were early on a couple of different Januaries where things were super slow. And but then come February, March, it'd speed up again. And I'd be booked out for months at a time. And it's just like, okay, I've got these deposits. I'm going to show up for these people. And
Yeah.
there's that like nervous anticipation, but also just excitement. Like, hey, people are liking what we're doing. This is awesome. And just
Hmm.
really loving to serve my customers. And July 25th of 2023, no, this is 24, so of 22, so about a year and a half ago, um, was kind of the culmination of me just kind of running around doing absolutely everything, feeling just super overwhelmed. Um, that I was going to start doing an exterior and getting ready to start power washing. And I was supposed to have done the house with the shingles still on the roof And then after I painted, they were going to put a metal roof on.
Yeah.
The metal roofing company came a little bit too soon, put the metal roof on, and it was either I kind of turn away the work or just keep plugging through it. I'd walked on metal roofs in the past and didn't have an issue, but this one being brand new, there was still some like oil residues on it.
Oh,
And it being at the point where I was just kind of go, 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 because I've got to get these certain jobs done by October because the first freeze could happen.
yeah.
There's a condo with these garage doors that are expecting me to come out and paint. I've got to get this done no matter what.
Hmm.
So I didn't think through all my safety measures, and I just was like so in a hurry that even though there was in my mind's eye, I remember seeing dew on the roof still in the morning.
Hmm.
I get all the gutters, all the downspouts taken down. I got my pump sprayer with my pre-soak application stuff ready to go. Put my ladder up there. Don't tie off or anything. It was just so stupid. Climbed up there, 2 steps on, and I'm feeling disoriented for a second. And then before I know it, I'm laying on the ground. I fell about 11 feet, landed right on concrete, right on my hip. I like had my 16-foot ladder come crashing down on me. And I'm laying there in shock, and I could feel my hip out here and my leg. My hip was here and my legs pointing this way. Like thankfully nothing's like breaking through, but I tried shifting around. Like clearly my leg was broken.
Mm.
Long story short, ambulance, went to the hospital, broke my hip, fractured my pelvis, broke my femur. I think there were 8 or 9 breaks total. And
Yeah.
so now I've got like a rod going over through my hip and a rod all the way down my leg. And it was the wake up call because I obviously wasn't able to work for 5 months.
Wow.
And uh, so thankfully, due to profit first, I was able to have put away some money to be able to pay our bills for that time.
Hmm.
And then um, at that point, it seemed like COVID had kind of produced a society that was like kind of rude and standoffish, but at the same time, um, with all the distancing, people did want that connection. So it was this like balance of like, okay, how are people right now? What's the climate of the culture right now? And I fell and experienced that. And I just watched over the next few months as the goodness of God just showed up so powerfully in my family with the community around us, just blessing us with financial donations, making it so that we could still comfortably live, even
Hmm.
without me being able to walk. And it was insane. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to walk for sure again. And then physical therapy went really well. And so I fell in July and I was like cleared to go back to work first of the year. So a little less than 6 months. And that whole time, I'm not going to lie, I didn't know if I wanted to go back to painting.
I'm sure.
I thought
Yeah, that's
maybe
wild.
I'll transition into just an interior only company and
Hmm.
stay clear of the roofs. Um,
Hmm.
and so I thought about like, man, do I start up the filmmaking thing again? Should I see if that would work? Should I
Hmm.
start like market gardening and like actually try and sell produce at farmers markets and stuff? Like I was thinking through like, what do I do? Like, do I want to keep painting? And got better and started up again. I had like thankfully every single one of my jobs that I had booked from that July all the way through December. I called them all and said, "Hey, I'll give you your deposit back. Here's what happened. Totally understand. Here's some other numbers for some folks that I think could take care of you." They all said, "No, we want you to do it. We're willing to wait." And
Wow.
so once I was ready to start in January, I still had like 4 months solid of work. So I just
Mm.
started plugging away. And so you'd kind of ask like what happened to transition my mindset there. That was definitely the beginning. It was like, okay, I've known this for years, but now I know for sure if I'm going to keep doing this, I can't do it on my own. And
Hmm.
so that just kind of planted the seed of what could it look like to actually have some help. And long story short, I think it was March, maybe. I was plugging through jobs, things were going pretty good. And I was at one job and I was listening to podcasts. I had the Entree Leadership podcast going and was listening to some stuff and listening to him talk about bringing people on. And way back, probably right in the beginning, probably like 5 years ago, I was doing an exterior listening to business podcasts and trying to find a painting business podcast and came across DYB and started listening to it. And I was listening to Steve and his wife April interview these business owners and painters, and they were talking about stuff I'd never heard of before, like systems and processes and estimating software and all this stuff. And I was what Steve calls swag estimating, scientific, wild, audacious guess. And
Sure.
yeah, and um, I mean, I was getting by, but I definitely didn't have these systems and I definitely didn't have a team culture. I didn't have a team. I didn't think I had what it takes to create a team or lead a team.
Hmm.
And so a lot of the stuff they said, I was like kind of zoning out on because it's like, okay, well, that doesn't apply to me. What does? And still got a lot out of the podcast and ended up just kind of putting it on the back burner as I just kind of started only listening to music while I was doing jobs and didn't have that growth mode mindset because I felt like I had just kind of found my lane and wasn't really looking to grow because I was already getting enough work that would keep me busy and I didn't have what it takes to keep others busy, uh,
Yeah.
so to speak. So in March, when I started listening to his podcast again, I was just getting so much out of it and just things that he was saying 5 years ago that he was saying kind of some of the similar things to some other people and other new awesome stuff. I was just like, wow, this is so good. And then in the middle of it, they had an ad that was for a free on like a strategy call.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that. So I just stopped what I was doing, logged in, and like I signed up for the call. And then
Yeah.
I want to say it was like the next day or something. Went out to my van, had the call with Steve, had a sheet of paper out, and just filled the sheet of paper with notes. And I think we
Hmm.
talked for like at least 30 minutes. And it was just, he was just so bold and just so like cutting down all my
Yeah.
false
Yeah.
belief systems. I'm just like, whoa, uh, yeah, okay. So those are all false beliefs. And I do
Hmm.
have the capacity to grow a company in this community. Um, I told him I was like, he's like, how many other painters are in that company or in that community? I was like, well, I'd say at least 10. He's like, oh, okay, so there's 10x market share growth potential. I'm just like, oh, yeah, I guess there is a lot more room to grow. And oh my goodness, I just got so much value out of it, and I was so blown away by how much value I got, and he didn't charge me anything that I was like, what do I do here? Like, can I pay you? Like, how do I keep going with some of this stuff? And he told me about the program. And I knew at the time my wife wouldn't be on board for me doing the cost of like one-to-one coaching with him. Um,
Hmm.
but I thought, man, the mastermind, I could think I could probably swing. And so talked to her that night, and I was just like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
And um, that next morning, I texted him. I'm like, hey, I'm on board. And that was think last March or April, somewhere in there. And so I started to think maybe I could grow a company. After being with DYB for almost a year now, it's been the catalyst for what's pushed me forward for sure, and ever
Yeah.
since the OA. So yeah, a lot of mindset shifts that needed to take place, and even just up until recently, um, it took me from March to November to make my first hire. And um, since then, so hired two, had to let one go, hired another one. and then I had two, and then I just hired a third, and he's starting on Monday. And it's so crazy. I
Yeah.
think the main reason I never thought I could hire is I think kind of classic craftsman bad belief system in my mind of, well, I could never trust other people to do what only I can do. Is anybody
Yeah.
else going to show my customers the care that I do? Is anybody else going to cut in like me? Just like, wow, if I learned to cut in, why wouldn't I have the capability to teach someone else to do it?
Yeah.
And now my lead Sam is cutting in fantastic. And it's like, wow, I thought I would just, for the rest of my life while I painted, always have to cut in. And now I've grown to the point in my mind of, okay, I love running a business. I enjoy painting. I don't adore it. I'm pretty good. I'm not the best. I love order and organization. For some reason, I kind of struggle keeping my van in order. I kind of struggle keeping the job site in clean order because I need to get so much done. Like at that point, I was like, I'm on my own. If paint's not going on the wall, then I'm not moving forward. And so I sacrificed my comfortability and like basically I just realized that I have a lot of things that I'm not great at, but what I feel like I'm pretty good at and that I actually enjoy is growing a brand and marketing and this new thing that I discovered called networking. um, right away with DYB, Steve encouraged me to join Rotary Club and the
Yeah.
Chamber of Commerce. And I already had a huge heart for my community. I love my town. There's just so much rich history here. There's so many amazing people here. And I've always had a servant heart of wanting to give back. And so just being part of specifically Rotary has just been so cool because it's like, man, here's a bunch of amazing people in my community that have the same heart that I do. Like, let's make stuff happen here. And
Yeah.
so that's been just really, really cool. But I could keep going with a bunch more. What direction you want to take it from here?
No, I mean that's so good. Dive into those mindset shifts and like really, because what I want is like obviously this is really fresh for you, and you came from a unique place that I didn't, which is being like that craftsman, that person out on the job. My background is like I came from the sales, the marketing, and all of that.
Yeah.
So I, like it was natural for me to have to hire on guys to do the painting and trust their ability.
Yeah.
So dive in like if somebody's listening to this and they're in that place where they're wrestling with that mindset um of like thinking, man, like how can I hire? Who would I hire? Where am I going to find them? I offer such great customer service. I have such a great reputation. How in the world would anybody else do as good as me? Talk about how you overcame those limiting beliefs, the mindsets that you had to like overcome, shift, like the
Hmm.
paradigm shifts. What would you tell somebody who's like they're there, they have a great reputation, they have the demand for like to produce more work. They're there. Like, how would you encourage them?
Yeah, I think at this point, like if they were to ask me today, what should I do? I would just ask them, do you care about your customers? And they'd say, well, yeah, of course. That's why I have so much, like that's why I'm so reserved. And I'd say, okay, so would you mind if your amazing customers weren't able to wait and have you paint for them 6 months down the road? Maybe they needed something done now. Maybe the other guy isn't a great choice for them. Um, would you do you want your customers to be able to be serviced by you and by your core values and by your company culture? Do you or do you want to just only service one customer a week and call it good, and let the rest of your amazing potential customers or current customers go away to somebody else that might not be able to provide your same level of service. In my mind, it comes down to that, where are you willing to let the rest go so that you can do what only you can do? Or are you willing to say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm going to drop the fear and the arrogance and go, okay, maybe I do have what it takes. I feel like that's honestly, this author John Eldredge wrote this book called Wild at Heart, and he talks
Love it.
about how in the heart of every man is this question, do I have what it takes? And there's all these guys out in the painting trade that, like me, are saying, do I have what it takes to succeed? Do I have what it takes to be a boss? And that fear held me back. And I guess I have the thought at this point that I can serve my customers better by growing a team, instilling my core values into that team, training them to operate with excellence and detail, and then be able to serve my customers better than if
Hmm.
I was just doing it myself. I'd be able to answer the phone on time. I'd be able to have detailed structure. One of the biggest shifts that's helped me is something Steve talks about all the time, and it's the tech stack. And I was kind of debating for a long time, like, what route do I go with tech? And the route I ended up, I'm loving. And from the minute that somebody puts in a request for an estimate on our website, I then have all their information in my database that I can then, because of that, serve them super well in lots of
Hmm.
different aspects. And it was only a year ago that I had folders of paper and random notes and like a catalog of most of my customers written out on paper, but not some of them. And then in my backpack, the paper would get messed up, and I'm just like making sure I've got all my customers. Like, I'm not serving my customers well. Yeah, while I'm there, maybe I'm doing a great cut in line and petting their dog, but at the same time, there's a chance with my current system that I'm going to lose their phone number and not be able to get in touch with them for 6 months. So
Yeah,
I
come
think
on.
just having that thought of, if I grow and don't abandon my guys, but really lean into instilling my core values, our mission, our purpose, why we're doing what we're doing. Like Simon Sinek says, start with the why. It's what propels you. What are we trying to accomplish here? And get them locked into, man, yeah, I want to be a part of that. And you set
Mhm.
standards of, here's how we act, here's what we do, here's what doesn't fly, and then you can help them raise to the occasion of what you're requiring. And not only are you serving your customers better, you're growing a team that then you can look back and go, wow, I'm like not only making the world a better place by the service we're providing customers, but look at the development that's happened in these guys in the 3 months that they've worked for me. Look at the hope level that they have. Look at their finances increase. Wow, they're able to. They have a better marriage. Their health is better. That's one of our core values: is complete employee health, physical, financial, spiritual, and mental. And um, I think that when you show people and you show your employees, you're not just an item on my P&L. You're not just a payroll deal. Like, I actually care about you and your well-being and your family and your health. I care about your goals and dreams. Um, it's a marker of success for me to be able to pay you really well so that you can thrive too. I think that when you create a culture like that, you attract great great help. I think that's another one of my pet peeves. I think, like yourself too, is just people saying, "Oh, there's no good help out there." And it's like, well, maybe you're not, one, trying hard enough to find it, or two, maybe like that Hire Better People Faster book says, maybe you're not attractive as a company to attract great help.
Yeah,
Um,
that's good.
and so that's where I think like branding, reputation, um, like who you are and what you represent, and having that show up well across platforms where it's like, I was just talking to a friend the other day, this amazing restaurant in town, like they should have a great social media presence with great photos. Like it shouldn't be like, here's this incredible in-person experience, and then you go on their Facebook, it's like their friends are looking in from out of town. Are you sure it's a great place to go? Like I feel like you should have that consistency um, in how you talk, and how you treat people, and how you look, and
Hmm.
how and the stuff that you put out online in your vehicles, um, because it creates customer trust.
Yeah, that's good. You know, I want to just interject here and say that what I'm hearing is there's a few things that the listeners can take hold of here is like if you want to get off the ladder, one, you have to realize that you can't do it yourself. You need to get help. Like you're going to be limited by your own mindset, your beliefs, what you know, what you don't know. So get help, get a coach, whether that's like joining DYB or getting another coach, just get help because that's going to help accelerate that path to getting off the ladder. Secondly, I would say like you have to get humble because one of the things that I heard you say is like you finally realize like yes, maybe you're doing some things well, but you're not offering the best service possible when you're just relying on yourself and what you can do. So you have to
100%.
really humble yourself and say, look, like yeah, I might be decent at painting, but I'm not the only good painter that's out there. I might be, great at customer service and talking to my customers, but I'm not the only person that cares about people.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of start to like take down that ego of like everything is me and I did this and like nobody can do it better than me. And if I don't do it, it's not going to get done. Just starting to like tear those things down and really get humble. And then that's when you kind of open up this other door to grow and
Yeah,
you can start to shift those mindsets and you can start to implement those things that like you're talking about, like implementing software and systems and things like that are going to help offer a better experience to your customers. And,
yeah,
there might be guys and gals out there who say, like, well, it doesn't take all that. Um, I would really argue that it does, because there's only so much that you can do on your own. There's only so much that you can take on as a person. So you really have to, in order to grow and to offer a great experience, you have to get efficient. You have to like, we live in a time where technology is like how everybody does everything, right? So if
yeah,
you're not willing to implement those type of things and meet your customer where they're at and make things easy and efficient for them, you're doing a disservice to your customers.
I agree.
So I like I tell anybody, I firmly believe in like I use Jobber. I know you use Drip Jobs. I don't I would say to anybody, like it doesn't matter what you use, but use something, So whether it's Drip Jobs or House Call Pro or Jobber or whatever other CRMs are
Whatever's
out
tightening
there,
it. Yeah,
yeah, at least do something because it's going to help you to serve your customers better. And so start to really just expand what you see as possible or what is necessary. And
yeah,
I think too like you have to kind of like look at other companies. Like I would myself, I look at companies where I was like, man, I really like whether it was someone who came to offer a service at my home, I could, as a consumer, like differentiate, like, wow, this experience was great, and this is why. And this experience wasn't so great, and this is why. And I would think to myself, man, I want to emulate, this person, versus the other. Or I'd look
mm-hmm.
at, my competitors or, maybe a painting company that's having a lot of success in another market. And I'd look at them and say, wow, what are they doing that I love so much? What
Yeah,
is it that when I see what they're doing, I'm like, wow, that's great. Um, and then try to take that and put it into my own business and maybe even make it better. And
Hmm.
what I can say about you, Isaac, from like the time that I've met you and just interacted with you, I can really tell that you care about your customers. You care about excellence. You care about creating excellence in like everything that you do. So it's like excellence in your marketing, excellence in your sales process, excellence in the production, excellence in your brand. And I can see that in what you do, and I think that'll really serve you well as you continue to grow your company. Um, so as you start to implement these things, you when did you finally get off the ladder? It was just recently, right? Like in the last month or so.
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so you've been off the ladder for 2 weeks. What was it in the last 2 weeks? What did you finally have in place where you felt like, okay, I don't have to be there every day. I don't have to
Hmm.
be at the job. Um, what was that thing that let you like let go? And then let's go into like what are you doing now?
Yeah,
What's your focus now?
yeah. So I feel like the main thing was just knowing that my guys were capable and
Sure.
really kind of I took like 3-ish months of just kind of stepping back and scenarios where I would normally want to jump in on whether it was with production or with customer interaction. I just
Hmm.
kind of stepped back and let it play out, just kind of like I would with, um, not to like make it sound silly, but like with my kids, there's certain scenarios where I just want to jump in and fix it or like jump in and
Hmm.
make a correction, but then they don't grow. And so when I was like first kind of training my guys, I'm like, okay, I wouldn't necessarily do it like that, but I'm just gonna like let this play out and see where it goes. Like it's painting, everything's fixable. And
Hmm.
so it's like, yeah, like here's how I cut in. I'm gonna show you how to do this exactly. All right, why don't you go for it? Oh, okay, you're not doing anything like I just said. I'm just gonna like see how this plays out and let their experience train them while I'm trying to train them too, where it's like, okay, how do you feel like that line went? Yeah, not great. Okay, did you like that method you were using? No. What were you doing again? And just like, um, I think that it really helped to be on-site training and also seeing like how are things going to go with these certain scenarios. I want to be able to be there to just like quickly answer this question that comes up because it's not like, all right, here's training week, here's every scenario you'll ever encounter. It's like, okay, we're going
Hmm.
to experience different things on different types of jobs. And it got to the point where we had so many variety of jobs within just a 3-month span that I really felt comfortable stepping back and letting my lead kind of take charge. And not only with like the quality of work is there, but the customer interaction, like he cares about customers too. And then my other guy, Steven, just same, just such a great heart. They both just really care about providing a great experience. They're on time. They stay professional looking. They treat each other well. There's just good interaction there, and just more and more, I started to go, oh, okay. Like I'm in this other room on the other side of the house. They're getting along. They're treating the customer great. This room just got painted and it looks fantastic. Like I can kind of step back. And so there were certain jobs where I'd purposely not show up first thing in the morning and like run to Menards and get some supplies just so
Hmm.
they'd have the opportunity to greet the customer at the door to get things started. And then I'd show up right after that. And then a couple more times of that. And then there'd be I unfortunately in this transition time haven't attended as many Rotary meetings as I would have liked. And so I stop and actually finally go to Rotary again. and then come back and see how things are getting along. Um, then I took an entire half a day, and then it got to the point where I'm like, hey guys, we have the potential to do something great here. And I let them know right when I was hiring them too, like, here's my plan. Um, just so they weren't like, hey, why aren't you on the job anymore? I thought it's like, my plan is to get out of the field so that I can build systems, work on marketing, do sales. It's hard to paint until 4:30, 5 o'clock, do like the Superman change thing, get out of my painting clothes and into something nice, go to somebody's house while they're making dinner, like do an hour and a half estimate, then come home and like be present for my family at all. And so it was like,
Hmm.
and then like answering phone calls, like rolling the walls, trying to like keep up with all sorts of stuff was just
Yeah.
completely unmanageable. But it finally got to the point where I'd make slow steps of, I'm going to give you a little more responsibility. All right, now a little bit more, to the point where I was able to take, this was huge for me, the whole first half of the day and just let them handle it, let them go
Hmm.
after it. I set them up for success. I think that's important. Um, and I went to a local coffee shop, got my computer, and finally dove in to setting up the programmonday.com. And I was able to set up all my jobs that were coming up and that we were doing, all the details of each, the timeline, like setting up the schedule, to the point where, like, when I open it up and it's got all of our stuff, um, I'll see if I can kind of, so if I click there and then go into Monday, like, yeah, it's the wrong page. So, like, I kind of copied, oh, what's his name out in California that you interviewed?
South Peak.
Yeah. How he has the bench on his, like, because they're a team. So the bench, they're the upcoming jobs.
Hmm.
So, and then like current jobs that we're currently on, and then ones that are done, and then ones that are unscheduled. And so what's nice is you can just go into the current job and see like all the details of what the job is, and you can do
Hmm.
files and have the work order, their address, phone number, and then you can customize each field to the point where you can make your guys have no, they won't have to experience that restaurant experience that I described, where it's like,
Yeah.
what do I do? Where do I go? What? Okay, they have their garage door open, but are they a front door family? Um, where do I park? What's their name? Do they have a dog that I should anticipate? Do I start upstairs right away? Is there a checklist? Like everything I could possibly imagine that they would have on their minds, I try and make sure is plugged into there so that before they pull up to the house, they know we're painting upstairs, we're doing drop cloths through the entry. I knock on the door and park on the drive and the street facing north so that this person can get out okay. The lady's name is Nancy. I'm gonna greet her this way. I should expect a cat. Like all sorts of stuff like that, where it's like, okay, I want to equip them to not have to feel like they're going into something blind. And then another
Yeah.
program that we use is GroupMe, and uh, just having that group chat thread going, where not only can we like greet each other and talk about random stuff, but they can shoot me a picture of, hey, this crack is in this wall that was behind this dresser. Are we wanting to handle that? And just different stuff like that, where the tech just makes communication so much better, to where I was able to take that afternoon and start to build it out,
Yeah.
and then jumped back on and kind of helped things get going, and then stepped back again, to the point where we started a new job, and I felt like, man, these guys got it. They're treating our customers great. The quality's there. They're showing up. I don't have to worry about
Hmm.
them. I don't have to worry about what they're going to say, what kind of music they're going to play. Um, they just, they already have great hearts, but they caught mine too. And they know, like, okay, this is what the company culture Isaac is trying to like show, we want to emulate that too. Um, so it finally got to the point where I got an email from Steve that he was starting a Zoom meeting men's Bible study. And I thought, man, I really want to be able to do that. It's Central Time. Okay, it'll be 8 a.m. Like that's when we're showing up to jobs. I've got to get out of the field. I've got to get off the ladder. Um, and I noticed that my guys rose to the occasion as far as being mentally present, thinking through problems, being self-sufficient when I wasn't there. But
Mm.
then I noticed that when I was there, it was like, what do we do this? Like, where's this paint go? What paint are we using here? How do I do it? I'm like, we've been over that. Like, come on, you're better than this. Um, and then I just realized that when I'm there as a presence of like the customers looking to me to do things, they're looking to me to like run the show. They don't feel that responsibility on their shoulders of, all right, let's get a game plan here. What's going on? So then when I would step back, it helped them to raise to that level and become better. And so I'd say the biggest key is make sure that they're capable because you don't just want to leave before they're ready, um, in my experience so far. And then some sort of production software to be able to equip them with the information that they need to succeed. Because now, I mean, man, with Monday and the checklist feature and then detailed work orders, I'm not even having to show up to the job, and I know that my customers are getting a great experience, getting updates with pictures, and at the end of the day, my guys call me and tell me what's going on and what to expect. I mean, it's just like I messaged the mastermind group the other day and said, I just got off of working on my computer and I'm sitting out on the patio enjoying the sunshine on my face, all the while getting pictures like this. And my guys had sent me a picture of there's like flexing, like we're getting work done. I'm just like, this is so incredible, not just for what I'm finally able to experience where I can actually breathe and I'm not just stricken with anxiety and like nervousness because I'm like always in a hurry because I have so much to do because I have
Yeah.
to do everything. It's like, wow, I can breathe. Praise God. And I've created a space where I've created the opportunity for other people to be able to raise the bar in their own life. And that just feels
Yeah.
super rewarding. And so, yeah, but I would say if somebody was wanting to kind of step out in that, having the software, it's definitely worth it. Um,
Hmm.
like with all the software that I purchase each month, with drip jobs and the production rates update and Monday and then QuickBooks Time, and the app is called Workforce. I can like have them clock in per job and just be able to job cost right away because they like, okay, 24 hours on this job. Okay, awesome. And then like it shows where they're at on the job. And so you can
Hmm.
like ping it with GPS and know like everything's getting done right. All that kind of playing together has just made it so that these last 2 weeks, like, pinch me, is this real? Like this
Yeah.
is what I've wanted to experience for years, like actually grow a company, grow a team, build systems, and actually have the time to do a little bit of marketing, actually have the time to go do estimates at a decent time in the day, have
Yeah.
time
That's
to
good.
play catch with my son and ride bikes with my daughter. Like it's like, man, I'm just like quite
It's good
quite
stuff, man.
quite blessed. Yeah.
That's good. Well, as we bring it to a close, I just want to say to anyone who is listening to Isaac's story, um, I want to encourage you that you can do it too. Whatever you're facing, whatever you're going through, whatever those mindset blocks are, you can overcome it. You are able to do this. You just need to take some of these steps to get there. It's not like a wave a magic wand and it happens. Isaac's put in a lot of work, a lot of dedication, made sacrifices, stretched himself, put himself probably in uncomfortable situations. But he did the hard things, and look, now you're getting to enjoy the benefits of that. And that's just so awesome to hear. That's what I want guys and gals who are listening to this podcast to experience, is that
Yeah.
freedom that comes from putting in that hard work, and getting to a place where you can get off the ladder, because that's what it's all about. So as we wrap up, do you have any final things, any final words that you would like to share with anyone who's listening, and close out?
Yeah. So I would say that to anybody wanting to start a business or anyone that's had one for any length of time, I would say that you can't have a great football team without a great coach. And if they think they could do it on their own, they'd be wrong.
Sure.
I'm just now finally going to start getting one-to-one coaching in April. I'm
Come on.
so excited. And even just the small bit that I've experienced so far um, has been instrumental. I can only imagine where I'm about to go and where my team and family are about to go. So, if I had one bit of advice, it'd be um, take your budget, trim it. You don't need 4 Netflix subscriptions, and you can do Mint Mobile and only pay $20 a month for your phone bill. You don't need to pay 150.
Come on.
Hire a coach, and it'll change your life.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, to everybody who's listening, there's been some really great value shared here today. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Isaac. I know that people will benefit from it and be encouraged by it, and hopefully give them that push that they need, to get off the ladder. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment, share your thoughts. Share it with somebody else so that they can glean from all of the wisdom shared. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, if you could please rate and review the show, I'd greatly appreciate that. And then share it with somebody. Thank you so much for listening to the Off the Ladder podcast, and we will see you next time.